Good morning and welcome back to Let's Clone. We're going to be continuing with some Bomberman. I played around with for about a half an hour with seeing just how far I could get on my own. I was able to get through putting in the enemy, killing the enemy, and animating the player. So we'll focus on that. I'm just going to give myself another hour. I've pretty much just removed all the code I did and I'm just going to do it again. This time explaining it as I go. I'm playing with a couple ideas on how to make these, so I think the last episode might have taken a little bit too long. This should be a more consumable chunk. So let's give it a try. So the last thing I did on my own was to make the animation for the player. So we're just going to go through and do that. I've already put these in. If anyone's interested, I can put one of the template project files in Patreon. And other than that, just take the time to split all the sprites apart. It's tedious, but it's not too bad. But from there, the one thing I wanted to add was an is alive Boolean. We'll make that true at first. This is going to be used to trigger if we die, so we can get out of any of our other animations and just focus on the death animation. We can also utilize this guy here. We're going to use this a couple times. Animation end. We'll just say like end of player. This will just run if no, we don't want to do that. Yeah, we do. This will trigger at the end of the current animation sequence, but we're going to care about if we are dead. So if we are not alive, then instance, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna just do a game restart. All right, that one's pretty simple. Create good. Let's go to a step event. All right, now to animate this guy, what do we have to do? We can probably do any of this after the fact. So we have pretty much an idle condition, we have walking in all four directions, and we have a dying condition. It's really all the animations we're gonna have for this. So it's gonna see if we are dying, or if we are idle first. We'll say if move h is equal to 0, and move vertical is equal to 0. If that is the case, then we want to stop animating and we want our sprite to be sprite Bomberman idle. That should be pretty simple. After we've done all these calculations, if there's either no input or the input has been reset to 0, we are idle. After that, we need to check. Yeah, I guess else ifs would be ideal. Else ifs move horizontal is equal to 1. Here I'm going to say image speed is equal to 0, no, 1. So we're going to have the image speed always set to 1, then we're just going to turn off if we're idle. So here, this would be for if we are moving right, then our sprite index would be equal to our sprite Bomberman going to the right. And we can actually just cheat a little bit. So we're going to the right. I like to go with the direction that GameMaker chooses their degrees. So right is to the right, up is, no. That would just be telling me. On their scale for 0 to 360, 0 is to the right, and up would be 90. So it counts anti-clockwise. That was a really dumb way to try to explain that at first. So right up, we have left and down. So now if our move h is 1, that means we're going to the right. If our move h is -1, that means we're going to the left. If our move vertical is at a -1, we're going up. And if our move vertical is at a +1, we're moving down. I believe, yeah, I believe that's fine. Now we're gonna come down here and say if is alive, oops. I didn't type in the if part, I'm retarded. If homie is currently alive, don't you zoom, oh man, I forgot to make the text bigger, I'm sorry. Alright, so homie is alive, we're gonna do that. Else, so homie is not alive, then we want, alright, so let's look at this first. This else statement is only happening if we are not on our current target. So we're gonna do something on purpose. We're gonna do all these things on purpose. But we're gonna force ourselves to not be on the target when we die. This isn't when we die. This is just what's happening after we've already received the is alive variable to be false. So now that it's false, we don't want to move anywhere, so just force everything to stay still. I guess we could even just turn the speed to 0, but we're good. What else do I not want to do? These shouldn't be able to... Yeah, we'll force them to be 0. Why not? Just be safe. So we can't set any input. Why are you not turning yellow? There we go. We want our sprite index is equal to sprite dead. Do I want to set this here because this will be continually running? So once death is triggered, what do we need to happen every turn? We don't want that. All right, so we're just forcing it to stay still every turn. That's good enough for me. And then we do cooldown is equal to 1. We'll say 2. We're gonna say 99, just so that we can't set any bombs later on, because this will continue to run. Now we need to actually cause the death, and we're gonna do this a few different places just for we're cheating. This is just debug. Debug death if position meeting at mouse X, mouse Y. I spelled things incorrectly. Monsieur. Mouse X, mouse Y, D. Alright. So that just means that if our mouse is touching any of the collision mask of the player, then we're just going to say is alive. Or actually, we were going to do if we is alive. Then we want sprite index equal to sprite Bomberman dead. We want image speed equal to 0.5. And we want our target X equal to -1. We don't need to set both of them because either of them failing should be fine, but might as well. And I think that is good. So we're changing the target, meaning that on the next frame, no matter what, we could have had a Boolean, talking too fast. We could have put a Boolean in here to check also if we're alive, but we're just forcing that when we are dead, that this will never be true because we are not on anymore. So then we're going to come down to this else statement. But then in here, we are going to check if we are alive. We're going to update our movement. Else, since we're not updating our movement, we actually don't need to do this or this. That was stupid of me. Yeah. But we are just going to run this every frame, so we're going to change the cooldown just so we can never do that. That's probably not the most effective now that I look at it, but hey, I'm not really planning too hard. Then down here, whatever triggers our death, eventually that'll be a contact with the blast or with the enemy we're about to make. Then that will change our animation to death, change our speed to a little bit slower so it takes longer, and we still can't move. We're good. Wait, oh, maybe it was really dumb me. So I never set this, so this is incorrect. I just needed to do that. Before we hit play to make sure that that works, we're going to add, I guess I'll retype it, in the brick, because that has to be blown up as well. So we're just going to make the same thing that we did. Debug destroy, but this is slightly different. The same condition. Position meeting for our mouse and our self. For here, all that this is going to change is 0.25, the image speed, because we've already made the condition that if we get to the end of the image number, which this doesn't always work. I have a problem with this sometimes, checking the image index and the image number -1, because if the decimal place gets too sporadic, then it just never really triggers. So we can actually get rid of that right here. This is supposed to be the destroy sequence, but I guess that's kind of what it's doing. But we're going to need to add one of the other animation ends again. And then we will destroy brick. So this, once we get to the end of the animation, instance destroy. There's probably like a drag thing. There's probably like something you just put in there because that'll allow, I don't know. All right. So that kind of just gives us like a God touch. It's going to allow us to kill the blocks to test that later on, and it's just satisfying now, but it'll allow us to kill the player as well. And since we are checking only on the overlap of the player and the mouse for if the player is alive, it'll only run for that single second. So first, oh, well, there's, I guess, that as a demonstration. Move the mouse over, satisfying. We can walk down, looks banging. We can walk right, looks banging. We can go left, banging. Up is banging, look at that. Now, boop, doop, doo. And he dies and it resets, and then boop, he dies, it resets, and he dies and resets. Nice. That is figured out for now. We need to create an enemy. So let's do that. This actually shouldn't take too long. So enemy, we have the sprite. Let's go in here and create the object. Let's name it all boring like. Let's give it that friggin' cute balloon face. Let's go down to, well, why don't we just start at the back? Animation end, we will do destroy instance destroy. Oops. Alright, so we get to the animation sequence, he's going to die. The reason I want to do that is because I didn't split up this animation. I put all of the images for him walking in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places, and then the rest is his death sequence. It's kind of just a simple way for doing this guy. Alright, I do want a create event. We're going to init enemy. Alright, so you saw in the animation that I had a walking for the first 5, so we're going to say that animation walk is equal to 5. We will, in our image speed 0.25, I believe that was what I wanted. We're going to add our step event. Enemy life. We are doing the animation, so we're going to say if is alive. Why not? Let's do that in here while we're in here. Is alive equal to true. If we is alive, we'll say if the floor of image number, oops, is equal to animation walk, which is 5. We have 5 images, but since the image number counts from 0, this would mean that we're actually at the next frame, and we don't want that. So if the floor of image number is equal to animation walk, then we would say that image number is equal to 0, and they're just going to set it back to the beginning. So as long as we are alive, it's just going to be looping through that little bubbly animation. If we're not alive, then we can say image, no. Actually, I don't think we need to do anything here. I think we just need to give it that same thing we did for the, whoops, young break. Step, this here. Except for we don't want to do this, we just want to do the one we did with the player, the is alive is equal to false. Cool, so now, if we touch the player, he blows up 2, and the player should walk as long as he's walking, but he's not walking anywhere. Oh shit, I'm stupid. This should be able to be equal. Index. That was dumb. Image number is how many there are. So now if we take the enemy, throw him in the bunch. So we're just gonna throw just one enemy in for now. We're going to eventually, probably in this video, spawn them at the room start. It should be pretty simple. Okay, so let's get generation there. He's not in the way, and that boy's dead. Okay, now let's just get him to walk. We are freaking sailing. Get out of my way, room. Get out of my way, bottom drop. We need our, get rid of that. We need our player. I didn't add anything with the draw event. I used to have here drawing the target. Now it's just drawing the self. So that's the only thing that changed. Animation, restart to the end. We have our step, create what's in here. Yeah, we'll keep those two. Open that up on a bigger screen. Come down to our, we don't need you anymore. our enemy. We don't need you anymore. Just create in the step. Bargain. I'm just making these their own categories because it's going to be a little bit easier. It's coming down to the create for both. So create has these objects and we need them. So our enemy, let's just go there, because we're going to need to walk and all that jazz. Now our player in the step event has all this stuff, and we need it. We don't need the cooldown, we don't need that, but our enemy here, player should be fine. Enemy, here's is loud, debug. Cool. So we are going to try to move. We aren't getting movement this way, however. Oh, sorry, we also need in our enemy a direction is equal to 0. We need a direction delay is equal to choose between 60, I'll explain this in a bit, 120, 180, and a dir change is equal to dir delay. So how I'm going to have this work, we're going to have a randomly assigned direction for the little bubble boy to choose. He's going to have either 60, 120, or 180 frames to delay. I think this is running at 60 frames, so when he decides he's going to make up his mind, he's going to wait until he's on his target location and then just choose a new one. It's going to be kind of simple, I hope. But coming down here, we need to get the input. So actually, I don't want to get the input, we're changing that. So if we are on the target, now we need to change directions. Ooh, one thing I want to do up here. So dir change is equal to the maximum between 0 and dir change minus. I think that'll work, but we'll do -1 just in case. Here we are decrementing direction change, and when we realize that it's 0, we're going to stop. We're going to start thinking about where to move next. So if not to direction change, just because having the bang symbol is the same as asking if it's equal to 0, which is weird because we are changing directions and not direction change. It's fine. It's fine. So we are now, what we are going to do is choose a random number 0, 1, 2, or 3. And then we will do a case switch. Here we'll do direction is equal to choose. We'll run a switch statement on the direction, which is like running a bunch of if statements on what it could be. If we have a case for it is being 0, then we would say here that move horizontal is equal to 1. Right? Oh. I thought this was going to turn yellow, but it did not, and that is because we haven't created it yet. Let move h equals 0. Let move, is it not let? No, it's not let. I'm using the wrong language. Var. Alright, so we've created a move horizontal, move vertical. Here we're setting move horizontal to there. If we're going to the right, we're going to do copy paste again, right, up, left, and down. Up would be 1, which would be vertical on a negative. Left would be 2, which would be horizontal on negative. Whoops. And down would be 3, which would be a positive on the vertical. So now we have, after we've decided to make our change and we are on the correct target space, or our current target, then we're going to pick another direction, and we're going to just add that input. This will already, we're not going to be dropping bombs with the enemy, so we can get rid of that. This tells us to stop so we can calculate everything afterwards. And then we're just doing everything that the player does, avoiding the walls and the bricks. We actually just created all this stuff so we can get, why does it say animation for both? Whatever. We can get rid of all of those because that doesn't apply to the player. If is alive, we don't need to worry about it setting the cooldown for after. And we have our dummy debug test. Let's see if this works. Hopefully, if I didn't fuck up too much, the enemy will walk around and make his own decisions. He won't, he'll definitely stop if he decides that he wants to walk into a wall, but he can't. No, actually, I think he can. Let's see what he does. So without initial direction, he doesn't move, so that'd be nice to kind of choose one. He's moving kind of quick. Maybe his movement speed should slow down a little bit. So here, movement speed, we're going to say 0.5. Direction is equal to, we'll choose 0, 1, or 2, or 3. So it was a little bit dumb of me. By setting the direction change to the delay, then he's obviously not going to do that right away. But when we do want to set, when we do set a new direction, then we're going to set a new delay. And then we will stop it. Yep, and then we will dir change is equal to the new dir delay. So here we will, I'm not commenting at all with these, reset delay time, choosing one of those again, which there's no point in choosing before. So you know what, I could have actually kept this here. I'm going to go back and do that just because of the fact that I can. So we're starting off with a direction change of 0, then we are going to reassign the new delay, then we are going to actually pick our direction, which since we're picking our direction, I fucking don't have to do it. I don't have to run extra computation. Then we'll pick it, then we'll move it. Now he should just move on his own, then we friggin' summon the boy and probably call it that for now. I don't feel like dealing with the explosions. Explode boys. Hey, I could eventually, and I'll probably on the next video, have him not get stuck on a wall. So like when he decides to change direction, to pick one that he actually can instead of having him linger around, but that's fine for now. The last thing we wanted to do is to actually spawn these boys. I think I'm going to take a rather crude approach to this. Let's get this guy out of the map. Let's, yeah, I don't need that. Don't need this. I think all we're going to need is the system event and the room start portion of said system event. Have I changed anything to this? No. Just some commenting. Okay. So now the room start has happened. We have looped through everything and made everything good. But now we need to spawn enemies. This is a silly way to do it. I'm not worried about being the most efficient at programming right now. Just kind of getting things done in a logical, easy to conceive way, I believe. So we need to run a loop, which isn't just the loop command, for variable I is equal to 0. Oh, you suck. I is less than, yeah, we're starting at 0, so 7. I plus plus, so I want 7 of them, so from 0 to 6. No. Now, this is going to kind of suck. We have a width and a height that I can choose from, so I can say, we actually don't have a grid. Let me say variable instance is equal to what does position empty give me? This function will check to see if a given position enters into collision with any instances with a valid collision mask. That is brilliant. I didn't know about that. So if I do a variable random width, random x, I guess, a instance random of width, and then variable of random y with an instance random of height, which I actually would like to make this at least 1, right? Yeah, it's 1 plus, and that would actually get me too far, so I would do -2. So I don't want to take a chance of spawning an enemy on the outer walls. So we are just going to be indenting by 1, which means that by default we'd have to indent or take away 1 space at the end of it. And that would still put us on the wall, so we can come back in 1 more. Hopefully that makes sense. Then if position empty at 16 multiplied by our random x and 16 multiplied by our random y, we will say here just if this position is empty, Then we can do an instance create. I'm just gonna grab one of these. Can't I? Yes. Neat. Instance create, but this is going to be an enemy. This isn't at all done yet. Rx ry. Why aren't you going yellow? How did I do that? So that's equal 1 plus, yeah, that was, I'm not reading well. So now, this is checking if we could run this 7 times and land on 7 spots. Now let's say, variable, so I'm creating a Boolean, and or just a flag, and I just want to know, I guess we can call it did spawn is equal to false. So then we will say while did spawn is false. Then we want to do all this. Yes. So this is saying while did spawn is false, which right now it is false. We are going to loop. If we hit a position that has nobody, then we can say did spawn is equal to true. Then we can actually spawn, and then we can get out of our loop and move on to the things. So this should work. Now I would like to, yeah, why not, show debug message of spawn plus string of I, just so we can see in the console if we correctly spawn 7 things. We might be done. We're gonna see if this runs, and then we'll decide from there. Okay, so we have did spawn 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come back into the game. They are not all moving. They can overlap. I don't know if they're allowed to overlap typically. Okay, so they don't move gracefully. But if we free up some room. Now why are they stopping their movement? They're only going 1 space ahead. No need in having that debug anymore, but let's finish up that little wonkiness about the enemy movement. For starters, I want to do nothing in the create event. Go big. So now what I'm doing here is if we are moving, all right, I don't want to run this switch inside of the popping of the direction change. I want to run this switch always. And that way we are always setting our horizontal and vertical movements. That should alleviate, because I didn't have that wonky moving pausing going on. The whole point of waiting for them to hit the new target is because the delay is gonna be a random amount. So yeah, now they're walking much better. Oh damn it! I done killed myself. They don't kill me yet, which, I mean, they definitely can. That's only like a line of code away. But yeah, and that is just about all I feel like doing tonight. If you feel slightly ambitious, it's not very hard. Get us to the player walking into the enemy kills the player, and it's just going to reset the game if you followed everything so far. The next episode for this, I will probably just give myself 30 minutes to figure out how the blast expands and animates. I haven't played too much with GameMaker's newer animation and sequence stuff, so I might work through some of that to add that into the next part. But we just have bomb blasts, using that to break the bricks, which, just like killing the enemy and killing the player, should be pretty easy to do now. Once the blast is there, we just check for the collision. We need the system event to handle the GUI, which is a time increment or possibly decrement, I gotta remember, and how many lives and your score. We need to set up the ability for you to randomly get the bonus or opportunity to get the bonus, and we need to unlock the door or have a door that we can open up and leave. So there's 1, maybe 2 more parts. Again, I'm not really planning these out. I'm just giving myself a time frame and going. This has taken me just under 40 minutes to record. I'm going to see how much I can cut out of it. 20 minutes less of footage than I did last time. If you are actually following along with this, I'm stoked. This is a fun game to make. Mario's next, but we'll talk about that later. Enjoy the night. Peace.